Westworld Episode 5, Contrapasso. This is a fun episode. Very interesting, and they did some stuff where I was like, okay, I'm kind of working through some of my own theories now, but it was fun. They threw a lot of mystery stuff in there. One thing that I thought was very interesting is Bernard was in one scene, like the whole episode. I was like, that's actually really weird. He's shown up like as much as like Delores has, I feel. And so this was like the only episode where he wasn't, really in there. And I was like, that's very interesting. I thought that was kind of, in a way, I actually thought it was kind of cool. I was like, oh, it's kind of weird but fun watching it because he always seemed to have, considering everything that's going on and him being the lead of, the basically the development of all the hosts. He's always in there so much. Like we didn't even see the other guy who does like the narrative stuff. Even he shows up at least once, per episode. So they did like a lot of limiting in this one. And it was a lot about the inside of Westworld. Like we didn't, we got our little bits and pieces here and there, but it was, I'd say it was like 90% was actually in Westworld. And I feel like normally it's really close to like a 50-50 sort of thing. Like maybe a 70-30. But this I felt was like 90% of it was like all Westworld. And I was like, that's actually interesting. They were really going into a lot with Delores and her jumping through time. And that was one of the big things. I was like, okay, I'm trying to figure out what the deal is with her character, how things were playing out. And I mentioned in my last review, I believe, or maybe it was the one before that, there's this big theory that, William is the Man in Black. And so that would mean that, we're seeing two different time periods. And I think that makes a lot of sense because what we're getting right now with Delores is definitely multiple time periods because the way they do the scenes, and they really establish it, very well in this one. Like, they kind of flat out show it. Like, they always kind of hint at it in the other episodes. And this one was just like, nope, look at this establishing shot where she's literally alone. And then look at this close-up shot where suddenly there are two horses and two people like 5 feet away from her. So it's very clear that however it's going, which I would assume the stuff with William and Logan is truly in the past, what's happening is Delores is going to all these locations and she's remembering. She's basically retracing her steps with Logan and William. And that's how she's getting to wherever this maze is going to be. So she has Bernard, I'm assuming, telling her like, hey, do this and find me. I don't know, like, it's starting to bring in a lot of other theories where people wonder, like, is Bernard actually a host that was made by Arnold and stuff like that. So it's really hard to tell because we hear Bernard's voice whenever something happens with Delores where it's like, find me or kill this person or do something that's basically outside of what you should be able to do. It's always Bernard's voice. So we still have that in this episode, but when they do the establishing shot where it's like a graveyard, it's a bunch of crosses and stuff, and she's alone. They do a big wide establishing shot. She's by herself, and then it's like she looks around. And it's like, find me, and so I think she says like, tell me how or help me find you, and so she takes a deep breath, and then it kind of pans. I think it's to her left, and it pans around her, and on her left side we see the horses and William and Logan, and it's like, okay. That's very clear that she was in two different time periods right there. It's like, this is her now, and then when it goes back to where the horses and the people are next to her, that's her 30 years ago or whatever, if, William really is the Man in Black. Which I think is going to be the case, because in the promo for maybe not the next episode, because they keep doing the weeks ahead, I kind of wish we would just get to know exactly what's happening in the next episode, because I'm always trying to figure out what we're seeing next. Because everything is so exciting, I'm like, I would love to know exactly what we're going to see next, but it's always like in the weeks ahead, and it's just like a bunch of different episodes thrown in as the promo, and it's like, I don't know which episode we're actually going to see next, so we have to just find out next time. But in the promo, they have a shot where William pulls out the knife, and it looks just like the Man in Black's knife, except it's not a black blade, which I never noticed until this episode, when the Man in Black was actually talking with Ford. So I thought that was interesting. But going through it, I was like, she's definitely jumping back and forth through time. And the way they do it, they kind of do like end gaps with her, or bookends. So they have that scene in the beginning where she's by herself and then the horses and the guys show up. And then they have it at the very end of the episode where she's with the guys, and at this point it's Lawrence and William. And then it cuts to a different scene where she sees the Maeve symbol on top of the coffin, and then the guys are gone. So she's still on the train, and she's still in that outfit, you know, the sort of the cowgirl outfit, I guess. But now she's by herself, and the symbol is on the coffin, which I'm pretty sure wasn't there during the rest of the episode. So this is her kind of retracing her steps, and I'm guessing that what we're going to be getting, and then I figured this anyway, but the Man in Black was there, you know, with Delores. So Delores is going to be leading us to like this initial, you know, whatever this malfunction was 30 years in the past, where someone was actually killed off. And I think that's what we're going to see, and that's how the maze truly started. I think maybe wherever this person died at will be where the maze is, or you know, kind of something like that. So I'm not 100% sure how that's supposed to play out, but we're going towards it. We have, you know, William and Logan, they take on this sort of Easter egg mission, which leads them to Lawrence. So, you know, that kind of shows it. That in itself kind of proves is like this is definitely two different time periods, because when they have the Man in Black, like normally they kind of play around with it a lot, but this was just like, nope, this is clearly two different things. Unless that's supposed to be a clone of Lawrence, two totally different times, because I don't think they even go from day to night with those characters until after they meet Lawrence, you know, in the past. So I think they officially kind of showed it off there, like, hey, the Man in Black just killed Lawrence. He drained him to somehow fill Teddy up with the, you know, the fake blood. I don't know how he did that exactly. I don't know if he just made him drink it. It looked like he cut him open and just poured blood into him, because he had like a big bandager on his stomach. So I guess that's how he did it. But I thought that was pretty interesting. I was like, okay, I didn't really see that one coming. But you know, they have him do that, and it's like, okay, so he just killed Lawrence, and he's like, you know, he's talking about everyone's path and all that crap. And then when it goes to William, Logan, and Delores, and they're getting to this town, that's when they meet Lawrence again. And like I said, unless I'm mistaken, there's not even a day between those two things. And we already saw what mission the Man in Black was on, and we saw where Lawrence was already, and he was being hanged, or he was supposed to be hanged. So obviously these are like two totally different, you know, experiences with different groups of people during different time periods. So they kind of, you know, really showed it off there, and I thought that was pretty cool. They're kind of just like, hey, two different time periods, you know something's up now. So I thought it was cool that it's kind of out there, you know, two different time periods. But the way they're going about it is still really, really crazy, because even when I go through it with the idea that this is definitely two different time periods, Delores still manages to confuse me, because I'm like, there are still parts where I'm thinking like, maybe she's the one who went crazy in the past, but they didn't destroy her, and they, you know, rebuilt her. But even, you know, 30 years before, because they even have it with Logan, where he talks about Arnold. He's like, you know, they have a guy who basically died, you know, before the park even started, and all this other stuff. So they're talking about, you know, stock and everything like that, getting more of the company. And so it's like, alright, that already happened. But with how crazy Delores is being, it seems like she has, I don't know, maybe even from the beginning, Arnold had her separated from others, where she had, you know, other, you know, secret motives or secret programming that he put into her. Because they even have it where William talks to her and he's like, hey, are you okay? Because, you know, earlier or whatever, I thought you were talking to someone. And she was like, oh, it must have been the wind. So it's kind of crazy where it's like, alright, even if these are two separate time periods, she was messing up even back then. But there has to be a reason for that. Like now, I think it's Bernard, because he's doing all this crazy stuff where he's giving her books and he's talking to her and he's saying like, make sure you don't ever tell anyone what's happening and stuff like that. So it's interesting. I don't know, but it's just crazy the way they're doing this. Like, all right, she's jumping back and forth through time. That's very obvious to tell. But then they have these moments where it seems as though she's still with William and Logan, and it's like, oh, she just saw herself. But every time that happens, she's not necessarily around them. So it's like she's in the same location, but then she's, you know, like we assume it's just one narrative structure. And so, say she's with, I'm trying to explain this in the best way I can think to. So say she's with, you know, William and Logan, and they're walking to a scene. William and Logan branch off, so like they're still kind of parallel like this, and then we kind of jump forward, so they're still back here in like whatever time period, and then she kind of jumps forward, but she's seeing the other version when she was still with William and Logan, and I think that's what happened when she first went through like that crowd. She was seeing herself, like we were jumping into the future or something, but she was seeing her former time when she was in the town, when she was with William and Logan, and that was her going through the parade and then um, running into herself when she ran into that room where the woman was, flipping the cars over. She saw like the maze and stuff like that. Although, excuse me, that may have been the present. Like I said, it's really hard to tell because it's just jumping all over the place. But the woman, she flips over the car. That might not have even been real. It's hard to say because she's a host. So clearly she's jumping back and forth through time, but it's hard to say what's made up and what's not. But it's just very interesting the way they're doing it, where she's looking for the maze just like the Man in Black. But in order for her to do it, she has to jump back in time and go through the recesses of her, former programming. And she has to be where she was in the past. Like, this is how she got to whatever big event. Like, they're going towards the maze, but it's very clear to me that she's retracing her steps in order to get to the maze. So whatever happened with William and Logan, specifically with William, that is something crucial to the creation of the maze. Like, maybe whatever this crazy secret mission they're on is going to lead them to the maze. It's the way they explain the maze so far is a huge mystery in itself, but it kind of seems like if any host gets to the maze, it will allow them to become like a freeform AI where they'll know that they're a robot and they can expand beyond just the simple programming that they have, which, as we've seen, is already happening anyway, especially with the ending of this episode. But it's just crazy the way they're doing it. They're definitely, kind of jumping all over the place through time, but based on this episode, she's retracing her steps with William and Logan. So my guess is, if that's what she has to do in order to find the maze again, then something big is going to happen, with William and Logan that she went through in the past. And I think that I'm still assuming that it's going to be Logan died. It could be that William died. Like, we assume, you would think that the hero became the bad guy, and they kind of, like I said, they kind of hint at it with the knife and stuff like that. So that probably is still the case, but I don't know. It's a little hard to tell how they're going about it. And then we have, of course, Maeve in this episode. For the most part, she's just nude on a table, but of course she has her big moment at the end of the episode where the bird lands on their finger, and the guy, he turns around and he freaks out like, holy crap, she just woke up. So things are about to get real bad for them. In the promo, I would assume this is definitely going to be the next episode because it started with these couple of scenes. But her talking about she wanted to make certain changes and stuff like that. I'm excited to see where they take it. There's a scene, we still haven't had this scene yet, but there was a promo, I think it was during like the first episode where they were showing like stuff from like the whole season. They had the scene where Maeve's like, I've died 1,000 times, how many times have you died? So we still haven't even had that scene yet. There was a scene with Clementine where she like bashed the dude's head into the wall and killed him, and they show everybody looking. I don't know if those two scenes were one after the other or what the case was with that. We have a scene where Maeve is leading a couple of people through the actual facility, and I know it's the same scene because there's a scene after that where you see the head of security, Stubbs, I believe his name is, and he's leading a couple of guys, and they all have like assault rifles or like P90s or whatever, some sort of machine gun. And it looks the same, like all the lights are red on the ground, so it's like the same sequence where she got other people. But during that little promo scene, I was like, that looked like Logan in the background to me, with the long hair and kind of the beard mustache thing going. And it was kind of funny. I was like, it could easily be the Eschaton guy, but it could also be Logan, because I thought in this episode they have the scene when William and Delores take off after they see Logan, he's getting beat up and stuff, and he's like, help me. When I saw that in the promo, I thought that was Eschaton. I thought there was going to be a storyline about him in this episode, and I was like, oh, in that quick glimpse, I thought for sure that was Eschaton, and it ended up being Logan. And so I kept going back and forth through this promo trying to see exactly who it was, because it focused on Maeve, and you could kind of see who was in the background, and then there was a blonde woman in the background, But that looked like the woman that had the snake tattoo to me, so it kind of makes sense that it would be, Eschaton. But I was like, that really looks like Logan. And I was like I said, I was going back and forth, so it would be funny if it ends up being Eschaton. And I kept trying to figure out who it was, and I'm still sure it's Logan. And then of course, I'll be wrong, it'll be Eschaton. But they end up escaping. She makes whatever these changes are supposed to be. So I would assume one of the things that they could change is her memory being wiped after a 24-hour process. So I don't know. I don't know how that's going to play out. I would assume that that's not the case anyway. At this point, she's clearly broken free from that system. So maybe just so it's easier for her, they kind of just delete a little thing or whatever. But crazy ending. I'm very excited. I don't know if those two guys are going to make it. I would assume that they will, but I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen. We have the revelation that somebody is using satellites inside some of the hosts to gather information on the park, I guess. So we get that, found out after a crazy little sequence where this guy is threatened, where it's like, oh, I love the way they did that too, where she asked the guy, like, oh, is this you? And he's like, yeah. She's like, oh, I hardly recognize you, without your pants down. And he's just banging one of the hosts just on the ground. And so, of course, he freaks out. It's like, oh, crap, that's not good. So she's able to, get to, check the body, and she finds that crazy thing in his arm. So who knows what that means? But somebody's sending, satellite signals to somebody else, or somebody's gathering information either on the location of the park, because clearly it's somewhere random, it's somewhere else. It may or may not even be on Earth. That's something some people have thought about as far as the theory goes. But maybe people are trying to find out exactly where it is so they can fly over and just, I don't know, parachute in or something. I don't know. But somebody's trying to get some information. They're not mapping out Orion. I think they were mapping out, I would assume just mapping out constellations in general. Like, okay, this is this is that. This appears, at this angle on this location on the planet at this point in time, or, at this time of the night, or time of the, day or night. So I don't exactly know what to expect from that, but things are getting really crazy now, and we have a great meeting between Ford and the Men in Black. And I like what they did. They have their little conversation and stuff, and Ford kind of talks to him. He's like, what exactly is it you're looking for, with the maze, or what do you hope to find there? And they kind of just have a little back and forth, and then the Man in Black is kind of thinking, like, man, everything that's going on lately, there's some stuff that's new, and they throw in a very interesting reference where Ford was like, hey, Teddy said something, and he was like, that last part I don't quite remember. And the Man in Black was like, yeah, I thought there were nuances, or I felt it needed something extra, which is why I also added my own little contribution of being an actual villain. So I'm assuming the Man in Black, based on that line, is also able to do a little bit of coding. He was, at least at some point, involved in programming these robots, or making them either the earlier versions or something like that, because he has a moment where I think it was when he was talking with Lawrence, where he's like, you guys used to be perfect, where they would, open you up. I opened you up, a long time ago. There's just a million little perfections, it was all just a machine, and then they went and changed you guys and made you blood and bone and flesh, just like us, and it just made it stupid. It made you all stupid on the inside and simple and ugly. So I'm assuming he had, based on, like I said, based on that line where Ford's like, I don't quite remember that, the Man in Black has some stake in the company, or just some skills of programming, which clearly, the guy was, who did the bodies and stuff, he was trying to make that bird working and be like, hey, I was able to get this bird to naturally fly, so, hey, I kind of deserve a promotion, that sort of thing. So maybe the Man in Black did that, and things just went nuts, and that's why he stopped, and he was like, you know what, I'm done making them, I'm just going to go in and kill them, because I can, and now I want to get to this deeper part of the game, the only thing that I really have left here. So I don't know, it's hard to say. There's a million different things, but I thought that was a very interesting line where he was just like, I don't quite remember that. And it was like, yeah, sometimes you just need a little extra nuance, which is why, also added my own contribution of being like a, main villain or whatever. So, excited to see where they take it, of course. Very excited to see what Maeve is going to end up doing in this next episode. That should be exciting. But ultimately, as always, crazy ride going through this, trying to figure out what is happening, what's important, what's not important. So, we'll see how this all plays out. This is a very interesting episode, though, character-wise, because like I said, not only was it really focused within Westworld, but we also didn't see a lot of Maeve. We didn't really see a lot of Clementine. We didn't see, like, Sweetwater really at all. I don't think we did see it, like, in any way, shape, or form in this entire episode. So, this is a very different one, just not just story-wise, but just character-wise. It's like we focus way more within Westworld. I think this is also the longest time we've been with William and Logan. We hardly spent any time on anything outside of them. We had our scenes with the Men in Black, but when I really look at it, it's like most of that was them on this, sort of Easter egg mission and, killing the dudes at the wagon and stuff like that where, Logan almost died. I thought he was going to die, and I was like, oh, this is the, that crazy thing where there's a malfunction. But that didn't end up happening. He was saved, and now he's been taken or kidnapped or whatever. So, it's going to get crazy. And also, I think he smiled during the scene when he said, help me, and Willie was like, no, and he took off. They hold it on him, and it looks like he was just about to crack a smile, like he embraced his darkness, but he got punched like right before it was a full smirk. It was like, it seemed like he wasn't gonna do like an open face smile where he showed teeth, but it seemed like he was about to do a little smirk, and then he got punched. And I'm like, I think he's happy that he finally embraced that darker side, and we get to see a bit more of that through the promo. So I'm excited to see where they take this. Of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And there are 100 million mysteries, but I want to know what you guys think is really going to happen when they finally get to the maze. Like, what is the purpose of the maze if two people, one man is, as a human, the Man in Black is being sent to it, and Delores as a host is being sent there? What could truly be at the center of the maze? They make it seem as if, like I said, the whole AI thing, they're released from the confines of the programming, but I want to know your real theories on it. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.